the Policy Personnel Committee to order. And we're all here. Matt's here. And Chris also has joined us. And I think what I'll do is I'll turn it over right away to Lee, so you can explain the mirroring policy and introduction.
So there's right, a lot of them, right? So, and again, this sort of goes back to when we had that conversation at the board meeting, where I just had an overview of kind of some strategies that Biff and I, Jim talked through. So what you'll see, the first document is really just a memo outlining what's happening in this meeting. But again, we're a couple hundred policies behind, and you know, over the course of the year, just to summarize, you know, what we talked about in the first meeting was that, you know, we did manage to make some ground over this last year to the tune of about 40 policies.
That's it.
That's all we really ended up doing, because we were taking, you know, just a few at a time. So in conversations with Ruby, who's really helping out with all of the stuff on Neola and everything, we discussed some strategies to try to get ourselves caught up. Because frankly, once we're caught up, it's just a matter of staying up on top of updates when they come, and it'll just seem like we're cruising right along. But until then, we're really looking at this and doing 3 different strategies. The first was to take a look at the policies, because we do have a policy in our Neola currently that allows for the superintendent to make what they're called technical corrections.
Yeah.
You know, renumbering sections, things that really have no change at all substantively to the policy. And what the policy outlines is that Jim's able to send those in writing to the board. So we've already identified 13 technical change policies that will be on the consent agenda for the board meeting. But in talking with, we really didn't think it was necessary to bring them to the committee, because the policy outlines just written notification to the board is good enough. So we thought we'd just put those on consent, and we didn't even have to address those in this meeting.
Yeah, but you said it's 8 policies.
13 of those. For technical changes that you'll see on your agenda.
Okay.
And it just basically outlines what those are. Now, the second strategy in discussing this with Ruby was, there's frankly was quite a few policies, 44 of policies that we were able to classify as mirroring. In other words, we're able to take what we have, basically cast it forward with the recommendation forms, and just keep exactly what we have. So as you look at this second document, which are 6324 policies, mirroring policies, that list encompasses all of those types of policies. So the recommendation we would have would be that in one motion, you send those policies to the board for first read next week. Essentially, once again, we have these, they're on the books, they're not changing substantively. We're basically just saying, yeah, we're happy with keeping what we have. And so with those mirroring policy lists on that document, those are all clickable links. So if you run into a topic that you see on there where you're like, well, it might be mirroring, but what if I don't like what's we currently have? So we certainly can, even through this process, amend mirroring policies if we so choose. But it's just a way to simplify to say, if you don't have any real issues with the meat and potatoes here, let's just get these up to date. And in one fell swoop, on July, whatever our meeting date is, that'll be the second read of those, and we will essentially move, you know, 44 policies, which is more than we did all year, forward back through the books and get them updated.
July 9th, yeah.
Yep. So that's the hope with the mirroring policies. Then we do have a set of introduction policies. What these are some things that we've just had in the works with some of the directors. You'll see some about the Affordable Care Act or the oath of office, for example, for taking the oath of the board, the role of the president, all these things. Those are introduction policies, which we can handle in the committee, similar to what we've handled at the board level, which is if you want, and again, I think if you think you want to take a policy out separately, if it's going to be, the most efficient way to do this may be to, if no one has any issues with any of the recommendations, the policies, you could probably forward them through in one motion.
Right.
Similar to the way you do consent, we can also pull out of the motion certain policies that you want to discuss independently. And I think that just gives us an opportunity to be efficient, but also have some organization to it and the ability to discuss changes substantively that you'd like to make to the policies. And so then moving forward in this committee, our goal would be to have a significant number of introductory policies each month. We're prepared to bring as many as 40 or 50. However, we can break that up if need be. But after, one of the things you'll notice is one of the introduction policies that we're asking you to look at is a bylaw. And this bylaw really allows you to change the way we do policy at the board level and make it so that it only requires one meeting to change policies instead of two, which will help us also be more efficient as we bring higher volumes of these policies forward. Ruby probably has a better idea than I do, but if we're even taking off, these roughly 60 policies, we still have over 100 to go to get up to speed.
Okay.
Right? So that would be our recommendation at this point in how we would move forward with the policies.
The remaining 100, we could do in one reading, right?
Well,
If we modify.
after, so
Amend the bylaw.
yeah, so if the bylaw gets amended, first read in June, because again, we're following the current policy, which is 2 reads right now. So this slate of introduction policies and mirroring policies will have first read next week, and then the July 9th meeting would be second read and pass.
Okay.
With the second read of the bylaw in August, it would only need to go through the one meeting
Yeah.
rather than the 2.
Okay. Yeah.
So really, we're cutting down a 2-month process and making it a 1-month process.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to address the fact I went through all 44 of these mirroring policies and about half, there's like 13 other introductory policies before my head exploded. So I know we're talking about, 100 policies or whatever doing this. This is probably a lot at one time. I mean, we're not trying to solve every single problem in June, are we?
No.
Okay. Yeah, because this is a lot. This is a lot to read. And then
Yeah,
secondly,
sure is.
Lee, if you clarify for me, the mirroring policies that I went through, I tried going back and forth from the site of our current policy to that each individual one, and it seemed, according to me, there was either green additional words or there was red strikeout words in each one of these.
Yep.
If I was to just read this file that you have attached here, I should be able to get a good idea of each one, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
so actually, what Ruby was able to figure out was something the board was asking for when we initially started this, which was, we used to give you the existing policy and then the proposed policy, so you had to sort of
Yeah.
look at them both. What Ruby's
Yes.
figured out on here is that you could put it all that's all in one now. The strikeout things
Good.
are what's changed in their updates, the green things are what's additional, and it's just telling you the whole story on one page instead of having to go back and forth.
Yeah,
So
that's-
you're correct on that,
That-
Matt.
That was a great help. I just want to reiterate that I know that we were saying we could really rush through all these, and for the mirroring policies, I could see that it was a list of 44, and they were all there was no substantive
Right.
changes. However, it's still a lot to read and a lot to go through, and especially since we only get we get this on board book maybe a day or two before. So
Correct. So one question that I would ask the group, is there a magic number that you are comfortable with, knowing that these likely come to you 4 days before, whatever they get posted Thursday, right, on a Monday meeting, knowing that that's all you have, but also remembering, and the other thing I would say to this is, you know, in terms of the committee's responsibility to these policies, essentially sending them out, you have the ability to amend them, but really, this is the introduction phase of the policy, which we used to have on our agenda, where nothing was really discussed for that entire cycle of meeting.
that's right.
You just would have them. So one other way to, you know, is, okay, so we have this meeting on the Monday. You're really asked to take your first like substantive vote on the policy at the board meeting, which is approximately, 10 to 12 days later or something like that. So, you know, knowing that that's what your time frame is, you just have to tell us what number you're comfortable with. You know, is it 20? Is it, you know, 3?
Well, this was quite a bit. I mean, we literally had about, 57 of them total. So, but that was a lot. I mean, can we
Right.
stick closer to 40 or
Sure.
in between 40, 45? That's just my own opinion. I don't know what, I'm not sure what Keith or Paul think, but
I would say even that's a lot.
Well, what if we did
I
this?
mean, I don't know.
Ruby might kick me.
What if we did 20?
But what if we just start with 25?
Yeah, okay, let's do
And
that.
then see how that goes for July. And if we have to back off or rank it up, we can. But you definitely want to be able to, you know, have a time to review them.
Yeah, for sure.
But the other thing that's gonna work is if we go to just 2 readings,
Yep.
that will cut down that amount of time. Matt, I think you brought up something important in that, how do we explain to people that aren't here the changes that Ruby was able to do so they can see what was changed? That's an important.
yes,
That takes a lot of work out of going back and forth and looking.
We can
It
send an
helped a
email
lot, yeah.
to the board, just letting them know that when they look at policies on this upcoming meeting,
Right.
that we were able to incorporate all the changes on one document, and so it'll be a little bit different look. And we can just put a memo together to explain what all those things mean, like the red and the strike through, and we can do that.
I would also stress that there is still the ability at the meeting, if there's something you see that you don't like, you
Yeah,
still have the
absolutely.
ability to bring that out
Absolutely.
and talk about that.
Of course.
Chris?
I don't want to tell the director how Ruby should do her job, but a lot of other government agencies do supply both the strikeout and what we call the clean version. In other words, the final version with all that gone. So while we're getting the strikeout version here, we could get both when we're going to, when they come for final approval.
Final read.
Yeah,
So in other words, second read, we could have
yeah,
just a
right,
clean.
exactly right.
Yep, okay, I like that idea. And then that'll really become, after July, it'll just be the next meeting. After it goes through this, we'll just do the clean copy.
Just a suggestion.
That makes sense.
So how does
As long as the
25?
board's okay with that. The only thing I would wonder about that is, anyone who's not on personnel, who doesn't review the strike up version, do they have a desire to see it that way before they vote on the clean version?
No, I don't think.
And that's,
is there any way we could have that attached to the board book for the meeting that it would be passed on?
that's what I was.
Because
Yeah. Yeah.
I
we
do
can-
want them to be able to review
So that.
the so-called dirty copy or whatever you want to call it with all the different changes on it and things like that.
Okay, I think we can make that. work.
25? Is that where we're going?
Yeah, for.
25, yeah.
For July, yeah.
Okay.
Won't you be excited when we ask for more?
Yeah. Well, Ruby
I
really.
will, yes.
Please, ma'am, may I have some more?
So do we need a motion?
We will need a motion to advance.
Yeah, we're looking for two really actions on policy from this meeting. One, moving the mirroring policies forward to the board for first read. And then the second would be to move our introduction policies also forward to the board for the first read.
Right.
Can we do it as one?
Why can't you do it as one?
You could.
I would think we can. Do I hear a motion to move the mirroring policies and the introduction
Sure.
policies to the board?
Yeah,
I'll motion that.
Got a motion,
I'll second.
I got a second from Carrie. Any other
Oh,
discussion?
wait a minute, hold on.
Okay,
And I have a question for you. This is just procedural with this committee. with the three people on the committee. Do we have anything? I mean, it's been a while since we've had committees, but I know there's three people on the committee, consists of me, Biff, and Carrie. Am I correct?
That's right.
No, and me,
And the president
ex officio on all committees.
is, yeah, ex officio, he has the right to vote in any committee.
Okay.
Like if,
All right, just
but if I go to Carrie's next meeting, I can't vote because I'm not part of curriculum, but the president can.
correct.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's right.
that's very, and that's only for tiebreakers, yes?
That's on it, that's for any
I
vote.
think that's for any.
He's ex officio
Well, that
of
makes-
every
that makes-
committee.
Yeah.
That makes four people and a possible even vote, which would make no sense. That's why we've always had the
Right.
chairman leading it and then two other people. Between the three, it's a 2-3 or 2 or 1-3 or whatever it may be. But that way it can, it's kind of like us having 7 people on the board. We wouldn't want 8, we wouldn't want 6.
If it would tie,
Tie is a failed motion.
if tie is a failed motion, you can bring a failed, at least in our county rules, we can bring a minority motion to the board floor.
Okay. All right. Yep. Just weird. I just want to make sure it's being ran a little bit differently than when we had committees before. So,
Yeah.
just a little bit of a
Good
learning
question.
curve.
Good question. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. And the motion passes.
Okay.
Do you have anything else for us before you're done?
Nope.
Okay,
That's it for policy stuff.
so I will turn it over to Michael.
Good afternoon, everyone. First item on our agenda is a market adjustment for the building and grounds manager position. Mike Schwartz approached me probably about 6-8 weeks ago, a couple months ago, and said, hey, just wondering if you do a market assessment out there relative to salaries for building and grounds managers, facility services, directors, so forth and so on. So we did that in HR, and we sent out an email to a group of about 60 different school districts, of which probably, I didn't count them all here, but 25 didn't respond or put not applicable for whatever reason. And when I looked at it also, I thought, I don't think, looking at a school district that, for example, just to give an example, Hilbert, for example, if the salary was under 75,000, I thought, well, I'm not so sure that's a fit either. So anyway, came away with these situations relative to comparable positions where it's a full-time director of facility service, full-time manager of building and grounds or whatever. And as you can see from the document, the above average salary is about 101. Mike Schwartz's current salary is like 92,271. And we would be proposing an increase up to 105, 271-ish. And to add on to that a little bit relative to two things I'd like to add to that. And is one is we all know what's on his agenda over the next
Yeah, right.
3, 5, 7 years. I'm not quite sure, but we all know that what's coming down the pike is a lot of big stuff.
Right.
And I think from my read anyway, I think Mike Schwartz is a pretty good fit here. From what I'm hearing off and on since I've been here, and since Mike has been on with us, he's probably been here about a year. Things are moving along. Things are getting done. Head custodians, principals, enjoy working with him. So I think we've got a win-win situation.
Yeah, I think so.
And from my perspective, I sure would like to compensate him accordingly and retain him. He's got a lot of skills that could be used in a lot of different places.
Right.
So I propose to you that we move his the manager of building and grounds salary adjustment to the full board, June 11th.
I'll motion to approve that so we can bring it up for discussion.
Yeah.
Got a motion to approve, do I have a
So
second?
the the motion would be to increase the salary to,
Right.
109,619.
109,619, that would also include the CPI,
Right,
relative.
So that would become his base salary from then.
For 24, 25,
Right.
correct.
Do you want to second it so we can just?
Oh, I'll second it. for
Okay, we
sure.
got a motion and a second. Any other discussion at this time?
Yes. Yes, I want to, I'm not, I hope he doesn't think this is me trying to argue against it, because last time when they brought up adding an assistant, I just wanted to clarify and let everybody know that we replaced a director's position for this,
Yeah.
for this very reason, just let everybody know. And honestly, I've already heard from, I have a friend who is a coach, and I've heard from other people, he's doing a wonderful job. They do love working with him. But just throwing it out there again that, we just added an assistant, and now we're bumping him up to basically a director's pay. The only thing he doesn't have is, instead of being called the director, he's being called the manager. So I want to know where we're going with this whole situation, because it seems to be that we're going right back to where we were again. And if anybody else has any other opinions, then please
Yeah.
let me
I
know.
do.
But I totally agree. But I think that we're getting, that was just last month we approved an assistant, which he needs, because we are overwhelming him. I understand that. And now we're coming back with a salary raise. So I just want to know, what's the difference compared to where we were with Chris to right now?
Let me come in.
Please.
I mean, I think the difference is that when we decrease the status of the position, we hadn't done the study. And I think
Good point.
we expected that, the study would be significant, but honestly, once the study's done, the expectations of what the job is have changed dramatically. And I think that, honestly, I mean, we're getting away with 109,000. I mean, the expectations now for that position are really big. And
Yep,
they
you're a good point.
extend for a period of years. And I just think that it would be exploitation otherwise, regardless of what we call it. It'd just be exploitation.
Okay.
I mean, when you can get, 8,500 at Sheboygan Falls, which is about, what, a fifth the size of this district? And probably
Sure.
I'm not gonna have to have the workload that this one is.
Sure. Right. And Little Shoot's almost 100 already. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I just feel I'd be remiss if we didn't discuss it.
Chris?
Yeah, I appreciate everything Mr. Schwartz is doing for us. I know he's got a big job coming down the road. I, however, am absolutely not in favor of making adjustments to put somebody in the right point in the market and then making cost of living, because really that's sort of doubling down. In the market, the average from the ones we're given is 101. I would be very comfortable with doing a straight 15%, which would put them at about 106 and change, because that strikes me as a reasonable adjustment and an adjustment that covers us for the coming year as well. I'm just not sure I can support the market rate change and the cost of living on top of each other.
All right.
Let me just respond, Chris. So all of these school districts that are listed here in the average, and that's all 23, 24. So what I'm trying to say is that if we took all of these districts and did a 4.12 to it, you'd see a higher average. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So what I did was, that average is for 23, 24. 105 for my 105, 271 is 23, 24, and then like all these other districts, the CPI is on top of that. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, So I'm just trying to keep it consistent with.
Sure.
The comparisons, that's all.
I understand.
Can I get a little bit more explanation of how Mike's job is perceived to change with the assistant that we hired? Will there be a change or?
My understanding is that Mike is going to be able to spend more time on the construction end of the matters. And this person, then he's going to delegate more of the duties that he doesn't need to be doing, that somebody else can handle with his supervision.
Yeah.
Because
Administrative.
there are so many, I mean, it's a big decisions that gotta be made, you know.
And maybe it's because before Mike, I was a little worried about the position and then not getting enough,
Oh, yeah,
you know, so I understand the projects we have are going to be tremendous over the next couple of years. I just want to make sure that because he's done this good job, that he's still in there doing that and not sitting back watching somebody else do it, so.
And you know, I responded to Chris a little bit more. I mean, if the board were to say, do the 15% like Chris and 106, I mean, by all means, that's better than where we're at today. You know,
Well, yeah, it's a little bit better than what he asked for, too.
far better than we're at today. And the other thing that I just want to point out is that, my opinion is that, and I take responsibility for this, I probably started him lower than what I should have. I probably did. And when I look back on that, I remember thinking about where do we start with this? You know, he came to us kind of an unknown relative to school business and how, you know, school world. And as a result, you know, but he is overperforming. So I'm just looking to,
Well, like I say, you know, the current salary, 94, was there because you had different expectations at that time, you know, and maybe even some, you know, some caution and that all makes sense, but gee, we changed the nature of the job.
we ramped it up.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
I still support it. I still support my, I guess my motion, and I kind of agree with Kerry. I'm glad he brought it up. You know, it was unknown, and we have changed the nature of the job. I just want to make sure that we're all keeping an eye on it.
Any other discussion? The motion is to do the increase and the cost of living, correct?
Correct.
Any other discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed say nay. And the ayes have it.
All right, second piece on the agenda tonight is a youth apprenticeship with the English language learners. And Heidi is here to talk to you about this in a little bit more detail. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, Heidi.
Okay, I was approached by Ben at the high school in Bonnie, Bonnie is the school to work coordinator. And I've been working with Ben on our English language learner program at the high school all year. And we met and talked about how great it would be if we could kind of duplicate this youth apprenticeship program that they're starting at the libraries, and having that be like an EL, English language aid. And that's for students that are on the track for wanting to be a teacher someday. And they will have to go through an interview process. They've got 21 students that have applied, which is very exciting, in hopes that, you know, this might be something. The way that we're going to be able, do you want me to talk a little bit about the budgeting, Mike?
Sure.
Yep, so the way that we'll be able to budget this for this year is using our Title III funds in a different way. So typically our Title III funds, it's a very small amount of money. It's somewhere around $40,000 to $50,000 that we get for Title III, which is our English language program. We'll be able to pay our EL aides, or generally paid out of general fund. We'll be able to fund them with our title funds and free up that general fund money to try this out for a year. Knowing that if it goes wonderfully and we want to be able to do it in the future, then we'll have to fund it in general. But it's a way for us to try it out, kind of low risk. Our hope is to have one in every elementary school. Not gonna mess with middle or high school right now. It's easier to work with little people if, you know, the age gap needs to be there. There would be training for them in the fall, with, our EL department, some of our EL department heads and the high school staff, before we would set them off to helping our EL students. One of the things that we're really hoping is, to have as many bilingual students as we can to do this work.
Yeah, that's.
I motion to approve this.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion.
This, in my opinion, this is a no-brainer. Whether it's being funded by Fund 3 or our general fund, this is just an excellent student benefit, to be honest with you, and for them to gain experience. And then also, once they do get through school and get through college and things like that, they have a home to come back to because they know what they're comfortable with. No-brainer for me.
Future teachers of
Michael?
America. Yeah.
That's it. That's the piece that I wanted to add, Matthew, and thank you. Is that, you know, if we get young adults in our buildings doing educational activities for our students and they thoroughly enjoy it, there's gonna be a high probability they're going to maybe go to school, become a teacher, and with their roots here in Manitowoc, hopefully come back to the area, hopefully come back right to this district, and I guess that is growing your own.
Mhm.
There's only juniors and seniors are eligible for it, right? Yeah.
One of the things I really like about this program is giving kids the opportunity to find out if this is what they want to do. It doesn't matter if it's working in schools or being an electrician or a plumber or wherever, it gives them the opportunity to say yes, no. And that's important in education, to get an idea early, I can do this, or maybe this isn't what I want to do.
Yeah.
So, any other discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I,
Say nay. Thank you, Heidi.
Yeah. It's good.
Teacher substitutes.
Wow. You know, it's rare the HR guy can give you some good news, but here it is. I think it was back in October of '23, the Board of Education supported increasing substitute teacher wages, making us much more competitive, especially with Sheboygan. And shortly after that, we seemed to get an increase in the number of people interested and willing to help us out. The bottom line is our substitute teacher situation this year was so much better than last year. Last year, our teachers were subbing so much. And, you know, if you're teaching 5 sections and every day your prep is being used by substitute teaching, you know, everybody's human. That grows old pretty fast. So this year, we're in a much better situation. Matter of fact, probably the last month, almost every day I'd come in and say, hey, Kiara, how was our sub situation today? And I'll tell you, there were times where she said, the only thing we didn't have filled was some para position. The only thing we didn't have filled was 2 hours of a teacher. I mean, it was substantially better. And then with Fridays, we were getting a little nervous, and I'll share this with you, whether you know it or not. About a month ago, because Friday seems to be a tough day or something. About a month ago, I read where our school district was saying, if you sub on Fridays, we'll give you an additional $25 to sub on Fridays. We put that in place, and our Fridays have been okay. I mean, so
Yeah.
today I said, hey, Kiara, how was today? She says, great. She said, you know, she says, I think we made it. I think we made it. She said, so I just wanted to share that with you because, boy, that was a good thing. That was really
Yeah,
good.
it's good.
So, Michael, my daughter teaches in Shawano. She hasn't had a prep period
Oh, really?
second semester because they have a subbing issue. So this is good news, because it's,
Well,
helps, it helps.
well. Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I gotta share this with you too. Heidi's sitting over there. She was the one who sent me the information, said, look what Sheboygan is doing. She was the one, and I looked at it and said, whoa, we gotta adjust, you know, so, anyway. Thank you all for your
That's
support
good.
now. You know,
Thanks for getting this done. Cash in lieu.
yes, boy, it was a while back, right, that the Board of Education said, hey, Mike, take a look at this. And, I did that, and I have some things to report to you. And, let's get started. So, we polled 74 school districts. 55 responded. About 20 did not. Of the 55 that responded, 30 offer a cash in lieu. Of the 55 that responded, 30 offered a cash in lieu. And of those 30 that offer it, 16 do the spouse thing. So half do the spouse thing, half don't. And you know what I mean by the spouse, where if two people are working in the district, one has the health insurance, one has the cash in lieu. Okay, that type of thing. So here's our Manitowoc statistics. We have 30 spouses working in the district. Now we're talking about the entire district, so paras, custodians, maintenance, administrators, teachers, everybody. We have 30 spouses working in the district. 2 of them are administrators, 21 are teachers, and 7 are support staff. We have a total of 117 employees who are not enrolled in our health insurance. 117 who are not enrolled in our health insurance. 4 administrators, 47 teachers, and 66 support staff. So we have 147 people. If we were to execute it in a traditional manner, 147 people, employees would be eligible for cash in lieu. Okay?
How many?
147. So, let's just talk about a few more things here, obviously. If we offered $100 a month as cash in lieu, 147 people times $1,200 a year is $176,000. If we offered $150 a month, the same statistic would be $264,000. If we offered $200 a month or $2,400 a year, it'd be about $353,000 annually. A few things for us to keep in mind, because there's a much bigger picture for us to talk about and to analyze. This is a recurring expense versus a one-time expense. Once it's baked into the wages and salaries, it's always there. The intent,
What's common, Mike, with other districts?
as far as the number, Matt,
Yes.
it got me on that one. I don't have that at my fingertips. I mean, I'd have to. Let me see how quickly I can find something. Bear with me, okay?
Yep, that's fine. I just,
Good question.
yeah, we do definitely need time to discuss on that because any little jump in that, as you just kind of laid out for us, is a huge amount in total.
Right.
During the discussion for the agenda, I just asked Mike to kind of give an idea of what he was looking into in ways that we could maybe do something differently with insurance for spouses. So I don't think any of these ideas are concrete at all. It's just stuff he's been looking at and checking with other districts. But I wanted the committee to get an idea of what he's kind of looking at and doing.
Sure, that makes sense. And I'd love to hear that. To me, the whole thing is a little weird because they don't do that at any job I've ever been at. So I'd like to know what, if we do have people out there that are doing it, what is the amount that they are doing? Because even though it sounds like a lot of money to us, $100 a month is very insignificant. I just don't see why that would quell anybody's concerns over this. So either way,
So I just brought it up. It looks like the average amount is $4,000-ish
For a year.
for the year, an annual. So if you took 4,000, somebody got a calculator? 4,000 times 147 is what? It's gonna be a pretty big number.
Yeah.
you said 147.
147 times 4,000, what'd you say?
588,000.
So $600,000 to do what the average is out there. So,
You're looking at an extra $333 a month.
you know, well,
Really? I can't believe it's done.
well, here's a couple other things I think you gotta keep in mind, okay? First of all, I think when districts did this years ago, they tried to the intent was to incentivize people not to take their health insurance, okay? So that's,
Mhm.
I don't know if, I think one of you just said this, I don't know if $2,400 would do that. And let me just, okay. Here's a couple other things we gotta keep in mind as we're talking about this. This would provide 147 staff members with some sort of financial benefit out of 750. So I don't know if if we did something, I don't know if we would get backlash, like, what about me? How come there was nothing in this for me? I don't know, I'm just throwing that out.
Now, just a clarification, are these employees that are getting the insurance through us via another employee? Or is this people getting the insurance through their spouses or whatever that work at a different place?
117 are through their spouses in a different place.
Okay.
30 are married couples working both for us.
Okay, well, we're paying for their insurance anyway. I guess in my opinion, I'm more concerned with the ones taking their spouses at a different job.
Yeah, and there is the philosophy or the perspective, viewpoint, that if your spouse is working for a school district or an employer, you're both getting the benefit. So there is
Yes.
that type of thing, okay?
Yeah.
We also have to, as we're looking at this is a cost. We have staff, these are the competing, let me stop.
When you're
These are the
done.
competing interests out there. We have, what I'm just kind of laying out to you here, we have staffing, we have compensation for our staff, we have our facilities, so we've got some competing interests. The last thing I would say is that we consulted with our MPSD advisors, and their response was not a good investment of your money. So I'm just, that's where I found where I'm at.
Chris?
Yeah, okay, so, first of all, you try to encourage people not to take your insurance when that saves you money. And that saves you money most when you are not self-insured. So I am sure that the bigger numbers, many of them may be representative of groups that were comparing what they would be spending versus because they're paying it somewhere else rather than into their own pool. We're self-insured. So to me, this comes down to two things. Well, and again, this is just a general discussion at this time.
Right.
Comes down to two things. One, this is a gesture to our employees to say, listen, if you're not taking the insurance, we realize that's a real help to us. A benefit we'd like to, as a token, due a benefit back. Second, I don't think it's something that we can do without being very sure that it's not going to reduce our self-funded pool, self-funded money for the insured employees, which is something that we have to be mindful and careful of.
Yeah.
Because it'll just cost them more.
Right, we could end up with not enough in that pool, and
Yeah.
that's not a good scenario.
Correct, and I think what
Exactly.
you're referring to, Chris, is, what do you call it? Adversary selection, adverse selection is the term, adverse selection, because I'm a pretty healthy person, so I'm gonna get off the insurance, I'm gonna take my spouse's insurance, and so the benefit isn't quite as good, but I'm pretty healthy. I'm not so healthy, I'm not getting off, this is the best insurance I could have. So that's that adverse selection.
Right.
Too. I think that's what you're referring to, Chris.
You want to nudge people in a good way, not a bad, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Any other questions on this? Like I said, it was just informational for us.
Thanks, Mike.
Um,
Yeah, it's an interesting, I mean, I guess in the rough and tumble capitalism, I mean, it's like, why would someone deserve? I mean, the whole point is, do people have health insurance? And of course, the United States is the only, developed country in the world where it's not taken care of, so.
Do I get to say it?
Sure.
So speaks the guy from Canada. Just kidding.
Really, no, I mean, it's like, if we have to pay for it, we have to be careful with the
Right. Oh, yeah.
with the pot,
Oh, yeah. I think being self-insured is a great thing for the district. I'm 110% for it. I really am. All the years that I was a teacher and people would say,
Yeah,
why
exactly.
don't they go and join WEAC? I said they'd be crazy to. It's not financially feasible. Giving all the money out so that you don't have any back to control your rates for the coming years is actually increasing your risk and uncertainty.
Right.
Whereas what we're doing now, because we have a large enough pool of teachers, staff, not just teachers, everybody. So I get that, yeah.
Any other comments on it? Thank you again.
Yep.
And we've got sports staff compensation.
Yes. So one of the other things that the board asked me to do was to look at the support staff compensation. And once again, this was about 2 months ago, the same board meeting. But right before that, or right at that time, Sheboygan was putting out a survey, and they did to like 25 school districts, and they 24 school districts, as in my memo here to myself, for 23, 24, all from the Northeast, Wisconsin, Fond du Lac, Oshkosh East, Oostburg, and those areas north, and Green Bay South. And they had a survey that covered like 25 different areas. So I mean, we're talking about spec ed, paras, instructional aid, LMC assistants, head custodians, middle school head custodians, elementary head custodians, building secretary, office aide, and they did auto technician, HVAC, plumber, electrician, and carpenter. I mean, so they did a really, really good job. So when this all happened, I'm like, timing couldn't have been better for us in HR, you know what I mean? Because, trying to get this information is tough. And there was a good response rate relative to that. So I looked at all this stuff and, I looked at all this stuff and I must admit, I'm just not sure where I want to go with it, but let me share with you what I learned, okay? All right? So for example, our spec ed paras. Well, let me start with this. I listed some of the areas in Manitowoc that when I looked at the averages in here, because, let's say spec ed para, at the bottom here, it says spec ed para, it has the average low and the average high. So I quickly looked at that, compared it with our wage range of low and high. And then if there was something that I was concerned about, I put it down on my little sheet of paper here, okay? So Spectate Paris, for example, we're not too bad, but we're about 35 cents would help us. Instructional aids, we're very low on the start. We're about $1.50 low on the start. And we're about $1.50 low on the top. Our LMC assistants, our EL aides, we're definitely in the hunt. We're even better than that. Head custodians, our elementary, we could be beefed up by probably $1 an hour at the bottom and $1 an hour at the top. Our middle school and high school, we were in the hunt. Our regular custodians, our bottom needs to go up about $1, but our top could go up about $3. You know, so our top was pretty low compared to the survey. Before I get to those, our building secretary, meaning our principal secretaries, we're right in the hunt. Very good. Our office assistants, we were low on the start, but fine on the top. So these are all the ways. Now, here's one other area before I, get too many things going here for you. So then I just want to talk a little bit about our auto technician, our HVAC, our plumber, our electrician, our plumber. 5 very skilled areas, right? And I think it's HVAC, plumber, electrician are all licensed type of people, I think, for the most part. And the bottom line here is our bottoms are very low and our tops are pretty dang low. I mean, our bottom is about $6 an hour low and our top is about 2. So, there's some concerns there, obviously. We're looking for an HVAC person right now. And I can't remember how long we've had it out there, but we basically have 0 applicants. And so we're going to now repost it. We're not going to put a wage range in there. We're just going to say hourly wage will be commensurate with license and experience. And then we're going to see if we can attract some people. So who knows? We'll go from there. So I did that, and here's the only thing we got to keep in mind there. If we made some of those tweaks and those adjustments, from what I'm hearing from my colleagues, is we run the risk of other people saying, geez, we got $1.50 an hour increase.
Right,
I got
exactly.
0.
I was thinking the very
I
same.
got 0.
Yeah,
So I just leave that with you right now.
yeah.
So then I thought to myself, okay, what about if we gave $1 an hour, $1 more per hour, all support staff? What would that cost, Angela? Well, it would cost about $600,000. Yeah. So then I thought, okay, 50 cents an hour is 300,000. Now I'm thinking to myself, okay, we got this piece, we got the cash in lieu, we got regular compensation, we got staffing, and we got capital improvements. We got a lot of community interest here, man. So like when I say I've looked at this, I processed this probably for 2 weeks to a month, and I'm just still not quite sure where to go with it. I'm really not. So, and tonight's purpose was for discussion and information, and so.
Is there a sense of grievance at all on, in any of these ranks? I mean, I think the skilled tradespeople, honestly, we should change that.
Yeah.
I mean, really, but I don't know what we live in a kind of a closed market on that other stuff, don't we? I mean.
When you say closed market, Carrie, you're.
Well, the people that are paras are not competing with people in Green Bay and stuff like that.
Right, it's usually within.
And Manitowoc has not been exactly a high wage town, so.
So the disparities that you saw in that survey, and some were okay, some were really low, some were really in the hunt. Is that something that we attack when we need to be in the hunt? Like you were just talking about the person that we need to hire, and we didn't get anybody. Is that something that
Yeah, that's right.
those kind of positions we have to negotiate with who we want and say, I mean, that's market, you know, and if somebody comes in and says, I want 30,000 more than.
Oh, well, yeah, if it's the trades, I mean, there's not a lot of comparison there because we only have one carpenter and one plumber. I think the other groups, I know the university did it the way you suggested. It's like, oh geez, we're not getting anybody that's applying for math or for accounting or stuff like that. So we better sweeten the pot here. And then there would be people who had been teaching English for 20 years weren't making as much as the people that were coming in new. So that was not a good situation. I mean, it's.
And I'm very, very cognizant of the fact that that's something we gotta be very careful with.
Yeah.
There's times where I'll make an offer to, let's just say, well, most recently, sign language interpreters.
Yeah.
Or another one recently was, I think it was speech and language or something. I always ask Jennifer to give me all of the Manitowoc speech and language or not who they are, it doesn't matter who they are, how many years of service have they given to this district and what's their wage? So I can look at that when I'm trying to make an offer because it's just an important piece of the information. Of course, the other important pieces is what experience level are you at, and what's your current wage? What do I have to compete with? So there's a few factors today as you're trying to make an offer to bring somebody in, seal a deal. There's no doubt about that.
But that's not. I don't think that's the case with teaching assistants and paras and people like that, right?
Yeah,
I mean, we did make a fairly major adjustment on that. When I came in, I thought, what? Wow. I mean, we're not paying even close to a living wage here. And I said I was ashamed to be associated with an institution that paid less than $15 an hour. Well, we pretty much got to the point where we are paying about $15 an hour for most of those people now. And honestly, in a badly compensated school district, wow, I mean, we made an honest effort there.
Well, let me expand upon that a little bit. We invested 2 years ago $600,000 into bring the bottom up for the paras.
Yeah. Okay.
And then remember there was a little bit of a backlash.
There was.
That was a huge investment.
Yeah.
And last year, we made an investment into the paras and the clerical. Instead of their bottom to the top taking 15 years, we brought them down to more like the custodial maintenance. And I think that total price tag was, I don't know, like $80,000 or something.
Yeah, that was a really good move too.
So if you go from the bottom to the top in a decent amount of time, because the reason for a step system is that you come in not knowing your job, but you should be able to learn it in 5 or 6 years and you should be able to be at the top. You shouldn't have to take 15, but anyway.
Yeah.
Then the other piece that we did was because of these two pieces, a lot of our dedicated, committed clerical paras were saying, hey, I've been here 10, 15 years, blah, blah, blah. So then we gave them 10 cents an hour. So if you had been here 10 years, you got another $1 an hour. That was another 60, 70, 80,000. I can't remember.
Yeah,
So
really. I know.
We made some investments just to make sure we're all we made some investments. There's no doubt about that. Let me just expand a little bit for our teachers. I mean, when you look at CISA 7 and you do the average teacher in Manitowoc, the only school district that's about $200 above us on the average is Sheboygan. I mean,
Really?
it's $200. I mean, so we're in the hunt, as I always say.
Yeah.
If you look at Manitowoc County, we exceed everybody else pretty substantially.
Yeah.
If you look at what we would say comparable school districts with enrollments between 4,000 and 6,000, I think we had about 12 that we identified with stuff. Of the 12, we were in the top 4.
Oh, all right.
So, and I haven't found it to be an issue with.
But even on the staff surveys, people said, well, we're not unhappy with the wages. We're not unhappy with the compensation.
Yeah. So I think.
But if you start to make it too inequitable then you just grow bitches, you know, at a rapid rate.
Right. Yep. So I think the intent of this tonight was to, once again, share what I've learned. And, you know, I, like I said, it didn't really provide me with the direction.
Yeah,
I
right.
learned a few things.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to know. I appreciate you doing that.
Keep thinking.
Yeah.
Just an,
Any questions?
just an opinion. Yeah, just an opinion. Not really a question. Mike, when you're talking about that top number and the bottom number, in my opinion anyway, I'm always kind of leaning towards the top. If you were to increase anything, you know, I like the idea of rewarding tenure and loyalty. So with the possibility or the potential to earn, I guess, being the top number, I don't know if that helps anything, but that to me
No, that's
looks
a good-
more attractive.
That's a good point, Matt. I really like that. There's a lot of merit to that, relative to our people that stay with us long enough to get to the top. And then they have possibly some more room to grow relative to the financial, their income.
Right. It doesn't hit you as hard right off the bat, I guess.
Yeah. Because when I hire, like,
If we did anything, it'd be the skilled people, yeah. They're not represented by a union either, and if they were, you know, they wouldn't be where they are in terms of lower wages.
Alrighty, thank you.
Yeah, that's good.
We are at the point for a closed session. Board will vote to convene in closed session for the purpose of considering the following matter. Considering the employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction. This meeting is authorized pursuant to section 19.851C of Wisconsin statutes. Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
I move we go in this.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
I'll say.
I got a second from Chris.
We have to do this by roll call. Yeah.
Yes.
You do.
I have a question. How does that work with me? Me being on this public broadcast
We're not
here.
gonna lose him.
Am I able?
I'm looking at the
Okay.
computer guys, Chris. We won't lose him when we.
We're just gonna stop the recording. Yeah.
Okay, so he'll still be on. You'll still be here.
Okay.
Okay?
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Nope. Yep. I just want to make sure that, you know, if there's anybody else logged in, that it's not. Okay.
You're not like at a Brewer game or a Bucks game where there's thousands of people all around.
No, just a bunch of goats.
Alrighty. Give you a roll call. I will not do this alphabetically. That'd be too hard to do in my head. Abel's got to be first.
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye. Hanson would be second. Aye. Spalding.
Yeah.
All right.
Aye. Trask.
Aye.
Aye. We are in closed session.
Can I